and he's going to house it.
It's amazing. Absolutely amazing.
What's going on, everybody, and welcome to another Angle of Pursuit podcast, your fantasy football, sports betting, and NASCAR home. I am your host, Kyle Robert. You follow me on Twitter at NotoriousKRO. Back for another podcast. We recorded one yesterday. If you're into March Madness, you want to get some early leans on the teams you should care about heading into the tournament, teams that could make some noise, teams to maybe avoid. Brian and I went region by region yesterday and broke it all down and talked about some of our favorite odds, some of our favorite teams, all that good stuff. So go check that out. We also got a good number of views last week. Really appreciate everybody hopping on, enjoying the content, spreading it around. It really did do a lot for us.
Yes, thank you.
If you're new and you're just getting into the show, please think about subscribing, hit the like button, and let us know your favorite bet for the Folds of Honor Quicktrip 500. But without further ado, it's Brian Twining. What's up, Brian?
What's up, Kyle? Yeah, and this is actually the last Folds of Honor Quicktrip 500. Apparently, Quicktrip is pulling out at the end of this year. So not only is this the first race at the new Atlanta Motor Speedway, but now we're also celebrating the last one sponsored by Quicktrip, whatever that is.
It's like a convenience store. I'm guessing gas prices are going so high that they're just sitting back counting their money and they're loving life.
Yeah, exactly. So, but yeah, no, speaking about Atlanta Motor Speedway, I am beyond excited to see this race, mini Daytona or quasi super speedway, however you want to deem it. This is going to be on throttle racing in a short track. Well, not short track, but intermediate track length. I'm expecting, again, if you can get a caution prop on this one, I'm going to say go with over here, just knowing that we're expecting high speeds and not a very wide track in the corners.
Yeah, this isn't your daddy's Atlanta. They've reshaped, reformed, done all the tracks. So this track is going to drive a lot more like Talladega, like Daytona. Obviously, you'll want to factor in some of the 1.5 mile long tracks like Charlotte, like Kansas. A lot of super speedway. When we get into the odds, we'll get talk about it. But Brian, let's give the people the nuggets you were giving me before we started. So they've repaved the whole surface. They've changed the banking. So instead of going from 4 degrees to 24, it goes 4 to 18 to 28.
Yeah. So the incline isn't as steep. So now drivers are going to be able to utilize a little bit more of the corner, and there'll be more on throttle time here. And that's what they were going for, is that they want this race to be a mini super speedway, and that guys aren't going to have to use the brake, and there's going to be less, easing off of the throttle here, which is why you'll see in a little bit the reason why the lines are set the way that they are. I think one of the most interesting little tidbits that they did at this track isn't necessarily the banking, but down the backstretch, they actually reduced the width of the track by almost 10 inches. But along the front stretch, they made it 6 feet. Down the front stretch, they increased the width by about 6 feet, which should create some possible 3 wide finishes at the end of stages. Coming towards the end of the race, at these super speedway tracks, it's always the guys in second and third are always trying to make a run on that leader, just like we saw at the 500 this year. So maybe we see some of that this weekend. There's so many unknowns coming into this race. You have Denny Hamlin on record recently as saying he has no clue what he's getting himself into, and many drivers are really unsure about how this is going to play out with all of the cars on track, because there's just been some small amount of vehicles on the track for testing so far. So this is going to be great. It's a first of its kind.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun race. But before we dive into it, let's look at how last week went.
Do we have to?
Yeah, unfortunately we do. We gotta remain transparent. Ross Chastain, I loved him from the jump. Was a big part of helping me, end up with a little more green in my pocket. I had the top 10. I had the top 5. I thought I had the win at one point.
Man, he was so close.
He was feeling good. Joey Logano just really never got there. Like he was kind of in that 7 to 10. Yeah, he was 7 to 10, like kind of all day. I never really felt like he had a a real chance to win, which is a little frustrating. Christopher Bell once again pulled the rug out from under us. He is Lucy and we are Charlie Brown, and they keep setting the numbers out and they just keep pulling us and we keep falling on our butts. I
Cole
did win
Custer
the
was
most
right
important.
there.
What's that?
Cole Custer was so close to
Yeah.
cracking that top 10.
Yeah, if we could get like a top 11 bet on him, that'd be perfect.
Right.
I did win the show bet of Joey Logano versus Martin Truex. So that's a win for me, and I will take that. And then, of course, Ross Chastain goes second. And instead of winning his group to Kurt Busch, Austin Cindric, and your winner,
Yeah, exactly.
Briscoe. So
that is some bad luck on that. But I mean, how you normally, if you
ideal.
pick a group winner and he finishes second or third in the race, you're expecting them to win.
Yeah, I picked him thinking, okay, come on, Ross, give me somewhere between 5 and 10.
Yep.
I'll be feeling really good about it. And have a good chance. He gets second, pops up, looks great. And is clearly elevating as a driver, and still not good enough. Ross Chastain Ross Chastain was good, but Chase Briscoe was incredible on Sunday. His car was really fast. He drove really well. He made some key moves at the end to kind of hold off, challengers, and then was obviously. It really seems like if you can get to that clean air, it does so much for your car.
Yeah, that does kind of worry me a bit, especially as we get a little bit further along in the season with guys like Kyle Larson, who, if he can figure out a way to stay at the top of the field at some of those mile and a halves where he's really good at, this new vehicle, yes, it creates a lot of parity down the field during the race, but that guy in the front, pretty much other than Daytona, at every other race so far, whoever was leading in the clean air was running away from everyone. So it's looking a little bit like F1 in that essence, that the guy that's on pole basically is able to dictate the pace of the race,
100%.
And it's difficult to catch up.
100%, especially with the ability to the race doesn't really start until that guy fires off.
Yep.
So everybody else needs to follow him. So yeah, it's really interesting. And to your Larson point, I think that's a great one. Like there's going to be races where he dominates. Like he did last year, but like if he can get to the front and he can lead 200 laps and call it a day. Ryan Blaney looked great.
I was just gonna say, speaking of that, the best driver on the track all day was Ryan Blaney, but unfortunately he suffered another shit performance by his pit crew at the end.
Yeah. And that's the difference. When you're in that elite tier, Kyle Larson won the championship last year because of his pit crew being so efficient.
Yep.
Ryan Blaney not so much, but has looked really good. And as we flip over and look at the odds here in a bit, you'll see he is very, very high once again. So he's looked great. Probably we're ending up on the right guys, so I feel good about that. I feel like we're trending in the right direction. Obviously, I have one winner. I feel like a lot more are coming. But that's why we got to hit these top 5, top 10s, the matchups, and kind of build that bankroll, Brian, because that's how we make some money. And so Blaney, Hamlin, Byron, and Christopher Bell, all no dice. Top 10s, not so much, except for Tyler Reddick. Tyler Reddick was a good call. Getting that at even money was even a better call. And
late week ad too.
Tyler Reddick's been money and looking really good. Obviously got the Blaney top 5, so that's good. Hamlin over Elliott, that was your win. Obviously you didn't win the show bet, thanks to me. So shouts to Joey Logano. And then Ty Dillon finished on the lead lap. I was sending you some of these.
Yeah,
they were pretty funny. Ty Dillon, BJ McLeod.
And I was sweating this Ty Dillon one coming towards the last 40 or so laps when he was getting about 24 seconds behind the leader, and just the luck of the draw, there was a caution thrown out there, and I knew at that point, unless he crashed, I was going to cash that one.
So let's flip over and look at the odds. We got FanDuel, we got DraftKings, and we have Sugar House. A lot of them, we're recording this a day early, so they're not fully up yet, but they are popping. You can actually, the ones you have access to, you can probably see lines by now. But Ryan Blaney is your favorite, along with Kyle Larson, both at 10-1 across the board. Joey Logano at 12, Denny Hamlin at 12, Chase Elliott at 13, Kyle Busch. We'll stop at 15, where we get to Kevin Harvick, Alex Bowman, and William Byron. Where is your initial leans, initial thoughts going? As we can see, the bookmakers are booking this like it's a super speedway race,
Yep.
and everything's going to be clumped together, and there's not going to be a 5-1, but there's also not going to be a 35-1 driver that you love. So where's your initial thoughts, initial leans going based on this early lines?
Well, I mean, anytime I can get Blaney at double digits, even in a super speedway type race, I'm going to take it. So for me, the initial inclination is to go another outright with Blaney. I mean, like I said, he's shown it pretty much every race outside of being wrecked by Brad Keselowski or his pit crew effing up, that he has the pace of a winner on a every week basis. And so getting him at this price, knowing what he did at the 500 this year, having a chance to win on that last lap, I think Blaney, it makes too much sense at the top of the board. And then honestly, after him, I'm probably going in outside of that 20-1 number and sprinkling on some of the other guys that have done fairly well at those super speedway type races, like a Chris Buescher, like a Bubba Wallace, like a Michael McDowell, even at a placement bet. They may not have the pace at those other tracks, but at these tracks that require a lot of drafting and it's not a lot of braking and I guess driving skill, it's more just who can be fast. I don't know why those guys perform really well.
Yeah. I also am going to start near the top of the board, and I'm going to take Kyle Larson at 10-1.
Don't blame you.
Getting him at double digits is something that I didn't really expect to happen very often. So I'm going to take advantage. I know his track record at Daytona, at Talladega is not great. But this is a guy who dominates 1.5 mile long tracks. And I get him at 10-1. Now he could finish 35th or 30th, and I could look real dumb for taking him. But at the end of the day, it's Kyle Larson. I feel really good about it. So I am going to add him to the card at 10-1. Let's scroll down to below 20, because like you, that is where the rest of my card is going to find its home. Kurt Busch at 20, Ross Chastain 20, 24, 25. So we get 25 at DraftKings. That's really nice. Cindric obviously looked really good at Daytona. Get him at 20, 25. That's not terrible. Always can talk me into a little Almirola season, but talk to me about this range and who's earning your money and potential bets this week.
Well, I mean, how do you go away from what Ross Chastain has done? 2 consecutive top 3 finishes. You were on him last week, and he proved once again that he's elevated his level of driving this year. And I think the next gen car is playing a major role in that. These newer or these younger drivers, it actually helped them catch up to the driving skill of all these vets, because the vets are now also having to learn a new vehicle. So whatever knowledge they've had from the past is kind of thrown out of the window, because this new car has completely messed up their preparation and all of their historical data that they've ran on. And so a guy like Chastain at 25-1 makes a ton of sense, especially with his recent form. And then of course Bubba Wallace. I'll probably place a small bet on him this week, knowing, I mean, he finished second at the Daytona 500, and he does really good at super speedways. I actually did a little research last night, and he has 13 career top 10 finishes, and 9 of those have come at super speedway races. And then, of course, his lone win came at Talladega last year. So it's obviously super speedways are his best track at every level. So Wallace makes a lot of sense, like at that 20-1 number too. Yep. Even knowing the Toyotas have sucked.
Yeah, it's been kind of a little underwhelming. Wallace is somebody I like. I'll probably be more in the top 5 market with him. We'll have to see kind of what that number looks like, because as he's at 20-1, that number may be a little gross. Cindric will be in the same boat. I think I'll top 5, top 3, I think is kind of where I'll look at him. Ross Chastain, same.
Dude,
Like those
25
three
to 1.
guys are all guys that I want a piece of somehow. But I don't know that I'm going to bet them outright at that number. I feel like either I want to be above that or keep falling down the board. So let's keep falling.
Okay, you got to stop right there. I'm gonna.
Are we going to fall for it again? 40
Yeah,
to 1?
I am a masochist, so I'm adding Christopher Bell 40 to 1 for a half a unit. That's too big. I don't care what the result was last week and that he spun out again. He's too good of a driver for this crap to continue. At least that's the way I feel. And I don't want to have the week that he wins be the week that I stop betting him, because I will be very upset with myself.
Although that will be, we'll spend our entire bankroll waiting for him to win, then he'll finally win and not even get us back to hold, but that's okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, 40 to 1 is a number I would be happy to take Christopher
way
Bell.
Too big.
At 28 or 30, I'm probably not doing it. I think he should be kind of in that between 20 and 30, I think is about the right range. So if you can get 40 on him, I like it. At 28 to 30, I'm fine with it if you want to get there, because like Brian and I have said, we really like him long-term as a driver. We think he's incredibly talented. It's been a frustrating run so far. But yes, he is on my card at 40 to 1 for a half a unit. The next name on my list, Ricky Spinouts Jr.
Yeah,
40 to
baby.
1 on the card. This guy looks awesome at super speedways. Has shown up at different tracks. Had a nice run at Daytona until the end. He finished top 5 at Daytona. Had issues at Auto Club because of the speeding penalty.
Vegas was the same thing. He was about to finish top 10, and then pit crew snafu late cost him that finishing place.
Yep. So Ricky Spinouts is on my card as well.
I'm looking at the our buddy Ryan over at iFantasy Race has the speed index for all of the races so far this year. Stenhouse Jr. was the fastest car at Daytona according to the speed index. So we know that he has kind of the gumption or to drive.
And if he has the right paint scheme this week, then he's just guaranteed to be in victory lane.
Exactly.
Austin Dillon is also somebody in this range.
It's tough with that 30 to 1 number, though. I don't.
But it's super speedway. This is a guy that really pops at those. Does pretty well at 1.5 miles. But yeah, he might be more in the look at top 3s, top 5s, top 10s, and not really the outrights. But
and I almost feel like I'm gonna get trapped by the Eric Jones thing too. Like
I'm not doing that again.
Maybe a top 10 on him here. But he can't stay out of his own way.
Can you bet on him to spin out in stage 3?
Yeah, maybe we have a combination of Eric Spinhouse Jr. and Ricky Jones. They're like a combination of each other.
Yeah, Daniel Suarez is also interesting. This is a guy who shows up at more of the blanking super speedways. There we go. Speedway. That's the word I'm looking for. 50 to 1. I don't hate that.
Maybe that Chris Buescher at 70 to 1 at FanDuel. I'm adding that a quarter of a unit. If I could go to FanDuel Sportsbook right now, quarter of a unit, 70 to 1 for a guy who I loved at Daytona, was running right inside that top 5 until that POS Mr. K wrecked his own teammate. And so, like for him, I'll probably be looking at his top 10 numbers this week as we get a little bit further along, especially after practice. Oh, and by the way, practice is actually taking place on Friday, so don't take too much away from that, because I'm sure you'll see guys kind of play around with the way they want to drive the track, but it'll give you a early look before we see qualifying on Saturday.
100%. I think that's probably your best nugget. You dropped all day. Yeah. That's like, I would rather just use my quarter unit on one of the 50 to 1 guys, but I like where your head's at, and 70 to 1, if it pays off, man, you'll be loving life.
I mean, and then remember back at Daytona 500, a lot of people were loving Justin Haley.
Mm-hmm.
And it's 80 to 1. It's interesting. It's interesting though to see that as the full-time colleague racer, he's actually been a bit slower than the car that's rotating drivers this year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think LaJoy has got like some. Is his pit crew allowed to work this week? I know there's still some
I
issues
can't
with
even.
Kaz Gralla from the wheel rolling around Daytona and somebody else, so maybe they can get off and be good this week. LaJoy is somebody that always shows up as super speedways, but even at 250 to 1, I'm not
Yeah.
gonna bite.
Yeah, it's hard for those guys to move there. I mean, we've seen it before. We saw McDowell last year win the 500 at 66 to 1. So
Yeah. Yeah, and so Brian and I will be back on Saturday, post practice, post qualifying. We'll update our betting card. We'll obviously have the starting grid, so we'll be able to give you all of our DFS thoughts, which has been really, really fun and been going solid so far. Any other outrights you want to consider before we jump over, look at some placings, look at some props, and keep this train down the tracks?
I mean, like we said, honestly, for me, the way I would be approaching this, like the way I will be approaching it, not just for the show, but at the only offshore that's of it. Well, at the only offshore I have my account with right now, is maybe looking at somebody within that early stage, like the early favorites, but then the rest of it is sprinkling on everyone on down on the board because we see it every time at these super speedway races. We saw it the 500 with Austin Cindric outside the 30 to 1 number to win there.
Yeah.
It's always somebody unexpected that sneaks up near the front of the pack and gets close to winning or wins these types of races.
Yeah, I'm curious to see if it's going to be like some combination of a mile and a half in super speedway, if it's going to be all super speedway, or if we're going to be like, we're going to be getting a really good number on a Kyle Larson who dominates mile and a half tracks and is just going to run all over these guys.
Yeah, I mean, Larson has been so dominant over the
So
last year
good.
plus at double digits.
Yeah, usually we're talking like, oh, should we bet him at 3.5 to 1? And now I'm getting
Exactly.
10.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
just it's a FOMO bet at this point. Let's hop over and look at some finishing positions. So we'll look at 3-5, and then we'll flip over, look at some tens, and all that good stuff. What? Kyle Busch, top 3, top 5. Those are both really, really interesting.
It's hard, man. Like at this track with so much sorry, at super speedways with so much variance to what happens, it's hard for anything less than like 2 to 1 for me at the top 5 number.
William Byron at 4 to 1 for a top 3, I think is interesting. I think he has a nice run at mile and a half, nice run at super speedways. Same with Kevin Harvick. Maybe, like you mentioned,
I don't
inside
know if
2
he
to
gets
1.
inside the top 3 though.
Yeah.
Because on the speedway tracks and the longer ones, I don't think he has the long speed to stay up with the guys because this is more so like, I don't know. Yeah, he's been really consistent this year, but once again, is he really competing for a win
No.
every week? I mean,
Yeah. Bubba at 5.5 to 1 for top 3, I think is interesting. I'd much rather do that than the 20 to 1 to win the race. Because I feel like if he's close and if weird stuff happens at the end, he can sneak out of
which
top
is
3 and
bound to happen.
Kurt Busch, Almirola 7 to 1 top 3, 3 to 1 to top 5. I'm gonna put 3 to 1 to top 5 on the betting card. That's the number I can get to.
All right.
What other numbers are jumping out to you in that range?
I mean, Kurt Busch does really well at these, but I don't know if I could get there with him. Again, the Toyotas haven't been performing all that well. Chastain, the top 5 at 3 to 1. Like you said, he's been amazing this past few races, and he's shown plenty of speed. So at Chastain, top 5, 3 to 1, that may find itself on my card. This week is going to be crazy. I mean, you look at the placement odds, and they're so close together, and they're kind of short as opposed to what we'd see at a regular track.
Sure, but we're also, I think, giving ourselves a better chance at
yeah,
nailing some of those. So I put Austin Dillon top 5 at 3.5 to 1 as well. Both those made the card.
All right. Yeah.
I think those are both perfectly palatable numbers. Christopher Bell, 4.5 to 1. If we're taking the 40, we should probably take the 4.5, right? Yeah, he's a little Ricky Bobby. Either it's everything or nothing.
I don't know, man.
Yeah, putting him with Ricky Stenhouse is pristine work there, DraftKings.
Yeah, that's kind of scary.
Busher. I mean, we'll flip over and look at FanDuel too, because we might be able to get better numbers than some of these guys. Haley, 10 to 1. Are you ready to go to top 10s, or do you want to? Okay, let's do
I want to
that.
see the top 10 numbers.
Because I think.
Because also too, you have to remember, with this only being a mile and a half, are we gonna see the long runs, like the long trains of cars that we normally see at Daytona and Talladega, which are 2.5 mile long? Like,
I think we will, like, at the end of stages with most of the pack. Obviously the people trying to win the stage might fight for it a little more, but like I could see that. But at the end of the race, no, I think we'll get carnage. Stenhouse at even money to top 10 is going on the card. Christopher Bell at 125.
that's already the Christopher Bell. I'm adding that. I don't care if he's crapping the bed lately. That's going on the card.
Perfect.
Chris Buescher at plus 250, also on my card.
Justin Haley at plus 280 to top 10. That, like, if you wanted a piece of Justin Haley, I think that's the way to do it.
Oh yeah, no, that's a good number for a guy that's done really well throughout his career in every level at super speedways.
You remember how we talked about not having a crazy aggressive betting card this week, Brian?
Don't even get me started. I know.
I mean, it's only Tuesday, and our betting card is getting a crazy aggressive.
Hey man, you only live once.
That's what they say. YOLO.
That's right.
So I'm Christopher Bell, top 10. Ricky Stenhouse, top 10. Austin Dillon, top 10. And Justin Haley, top 10. I'm going to...
oh, no.
This
sounded like my card from last week.
I'm getting far too aggressive. Except for on the end of the day on Sunday, I'll have a lot more green than you, but that's okay. Yeah, I'm gonna do some line shopping for those to find the best number. So
I see one that I'll keep on my card, and that's Chastain to top 10.
Yeah, I
like that. Even at that minus 110, almost even. He's shown plenty of speed this year, so give me that one.
And you're not asking him to even top 3 or top 5. You're just saying, hey, get inside the top 10, stay there.
Yep.
Suarez at almost 2 to 1 to top 10 is interesting. I don't hate that. And Corey LaJoy 3.5 to 1. I wish we could do the top 20 bets. Those were fun,
dude. That would be. You could make a killing on those, and that's why they got rid of those.
Too much fun. Can't have fun. Ricky Stenhouse over Bubba Wallace is kind of fun.
That one hurts my soul.
Yeah. Kyle Larson versus Ryan Blaney. We can go a little heads up there.
Let's go. That's the show bet this week.
Sure, put it on.
Let's go.
I love Ryan Blaney like no other, but yeah, that's fine with me. I'll take the best driver in NASCAR. Let's go.
Isn't that crazy how he just kind of showed up out of nowhere after missing almost an entire season? And
yeah, I mean, they knew he was good. That's Harrison Burton versus Cole Custer, Hamlin versus Logano, Austin Dillon versus Allmer. They like to pair up the guys that I want to bet. Like,
exactly.
So frustrating. Eric Jones versus Michael McDowell.
Ooh, I like that one.
Michael McDowell might finish the race though, and that might be a problem for us.
Yeah, but Eric Jones could be. That's the difference. Is Michael McDowell could be 10 laps down late in the race, and Eric Jones would crash with 11 laps to go.
Who wins the race at that point?
It would be McDowell.
I'm taking Eric Jones over Michael McDowell at even money.
Oh, give me perfect. Austin Cindric over Brad Keselowski. Put that down. That is going on the card.
So should I bet Brad Keselowski went so that way when he spins out Austin Cindric, I automatically win that bet.
Oh man, you might see me posting about buying a new television if that is the case. Okay, and then my weekly bet right there. It's a good number. Blaney minus 110 over Logano. I'll take that.
Ooh, Ross Chastain over Kurt Busch. I'll take that.
Pretty good. I think they've had that. They had that at week 1 too. I feel like they almost reposted all of their Daytona lines.
Yeah. I mean, why reinvent the wheel, right?
Yeah.
We'll take that. Let's flip over and look at FanDuel. These are their props. So this is top 3. Let's look at top 10. See if we can find some better numbers on some of the guys we like. Tyler Reddick minus 145 to top 10 isn't bad. I don't usually like dipping super low in the minuses, but I think that could make some sense. Almirola minus 120, Chastain minus 110. What was DraftKings? Let's go back.
Minus 110. It was the same.
Okay.
What was Bubba at DK?
He
-140?
was Bubba Wallace. Where are you? Minus 140. And over here, he's minus 135. So, yeah, it's usually pretty close. Sometimes DraftKings has a little bit better of a price. Sometimes not.
Oh,
Plus
yeah.
115 on these two.
Plus 140 on Bell to top 10 at FanDuel.
Let's see. What was... And then Dylan and Stenhouser plus 100. So, that's what I'm saying. I'm taking that plus 115. What does FanDuel have for...
They got Bell at plus 140.
Let's go. Yeah, absolutely. Love to see it. And then we'll head back and look. Eric Jones at 140. See, Christopher Bell in with Eric Jones and Michael McDowell and Daniel like that doesn't make sense.
That's such an overreaction.
The logic doesn't apply. And Justin Haley, I'm getting it 3-1. So shouts to me.
Yeah, I mean, I can understand just maybe he's just stuck in a rut, kind of like a pitcher in baseball where they can't find the strike zone, but he's too good of a driver for those kinds of finishes to continue.
Top 3, Kyle Larson at 280 to top 3. I don't hate that.
It's just so hard with especially the top 3 finish. You're really hoping that they're not the lead car coming into that final turn in a sense.
No, I'm actually hoping to supplement my outright and just have them in that way if for some reason they get second, because the guy, he's going heads up with Blaney, and Blaney gets a little bit more clean air, gets out in front of him. At least I'm getting something to, and I'm not getting, holding nothing instead of holding what I should be. So that's kind of my thought there.
No, it makes sense.
I totally get it. Like, especially this week. This week is not the week to load up on placings, and yet here we are. But let's have some fun. Let's see what we can do. So
exactly, and also too, like I said, late in the week, I've noticed you even see DraftKings, and for us, you see the like the offshores. They add a lot of the prop bets, like cautions and drivers to finish on the lead lap, etc. And a lot of times, those are good ways to get some action on the game. Those are like 50-50 propositions as opposed to drivers finishing in certain positions and such. So
the other thing is F1 starts this week. I don't know if our audience watches that as well, but Lewis Hamilton has been sandbagging all off season. He is going to win the Bahrain Grand Prix here and I'm going to see. Oh man, I thought they would let me do that. Let's see if DraftKings will let me do it. I really want to bet Kyle Larson, and I want to bet. Let's go back to motorsports. Lewis Hamilton.
Oh wow! Look at the difference.
30. Wait, what is that? Yeah, 32-1.
Wow.
That is going on the card. Kyle Larson, Lewis Hamilton, both to win. 32-1. Now we're cooking with gas, Brian Twining.
Hey,
Now
I was just talking. This week is an incredible week of sports. March Madness, F1 season gets going. First race at the new Atlanta Motor Speedway. Australian rules football gets started tomorrow morning. There are so many great things happening this week in the world of sports that if you don't like any of these, I don't know what's wrong with you.
I mean, yeah, we're being presented with an opportunity to bet on fun stuff. Let's have some fun with it, huh?
Exactly.
Okay, so let's throw up the tracker. So that is
That
your
is
bet. So we'll start with your bets. We're still getting everything set up. We'll review this all obviously on Saturday, show you the final betting card. But this is where we're at. This is our process. This is how we go through things. So we want to give you guys a little insight, give you some of our thoughts, and more importantly, get you those good numbers before they move. Because if you watched us last Wednesday and then you watched us on Saturday, there was a lot of lines that we liked and we discussed that started shrinking. And obviously, there's going to be opportunities depending on how qualifying goes and stuff to get value. Like when I bet Kyle Larson to win the race and he won the race at 5-1 instead of 3.5. So
Yep.
you're going to find opportunity. It's all about finding the right number. So as of now, this is Brian's betting card. We have Ryan Blaney at 10-1. We have Christopher Bell at 40. We have Ricky Stenhouse at 40. We have Chris Buescher at 70. We have Buescher to top 10 at plus 270. We have Christopher Bell to top 10 at 140. We have Chastain to top 10 at minus 110. Our show bet this week is Ryan Blaney versus Kyle Larson. Brian is Ryan, and I am on, and the Kyles roll together. I mean, it could
That's
not be any
awesome.
better.
Uh,
Brian has Cindric over Keselowski because of course, and Blaney
F that
over
guy.
Logano because of course. I'm gonna make some graphic with your two bitter rivals. It needs to happen at this point.
I can send you a picture that I actually took of him when I was at the Las Vegas track. And I even mentioned it to somebody. I'm like, yeah, I can't even like acknowledge this guy.
I have Kyle Larson to win. I have Christopher Bell to win. I have Ricky Stenhouse to win. I have Almirola and Austin Dillon at the top 10. I have Christopher Bell, Ricky Stenhouse, Austin Dillon, and Justin Haley to Almirola and Dillon to top 5. Bell, Stenhouse, Dillon, and Haley to top 10. I have Eric Jones over McDowell at minus 110 and Chastain over Kurt Busch minus 110. And my crazy parlay of the week, I'm going to try and have one of these every week. And if I can
Nice.
just hit on like one, I'll be loving life. But it's Kyle Larson and Lewis Hamilton to win at F1. So that is where my card is at as of now.
All I can say about F1 is I just recently started season 4 of Drive to Survive,
and now
and
you're hooked.
I love the show, but I'm all about Team Haas. It's the only American owned
They're
F1 team.
so pathetic.
So of course I got to root for
Mhm.
Haas Racing over
Yeah,
there.
I mean they were ran by a Russian oligarch, but sure, American owned. I'm Team McLaren. Daniel Ricciardo is my favorite driver. If you want to have the Aussie tie-in,
He's a goofy guy.
he is a goofy guy. He's a wild and crazy guy. That's Brian Twining. I'm Kyle Robert. Get ready for the race. We'll be back post qualifying to get you set DFS, final betting card, all that stuff. As I mentioned, let us know down in the comments your favorite bet for the Folds of Honor Quicktrip 500 at the new Atlanta Motor Speedway. Very, very ready for a fun race. I'm excited to jump into it. We'll talk to you guys next time.